Welcome to our video tutorial on AJAX, your gateway to creating dynamic and interactive web applications. AJAX, short for Asynchronous JavaScript and XML, is a powerful technology used to update parts of a web page without reloading the entire page. In this tutorial, we'll cover everything you need to know about AJAX, from basics to advanced techniques. We'll start by understanding the fundamentals of AJAX. Then we'll dive into making asynchronous requests to fetch data from a server. Throughout this tutorial, we'll be writing a code examples to illustrate the key concepts. But don't worry if you're not familiar with coding, I'll explain everything step by step. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have a solid understanding of AJAX and how to implement it in your own projects. So let's not waste any time and get started. What is AJAX? AJAX is not a programming language or a script language, but it combines multiple web-related technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, DOM, XML, JSON, and XML HTTP request object. Due to the combination of these technologies, AJAX allows web pages to be updated asynchronously by exchanging data with a web server behind the scenes. This means that it is possible to update parts of a web page without reloading the whole page. Here are the steps involved in the working of AJAX. First, an event occurs in a web page, triggering an event such as clicking a button. The web browser sends an asynchronous request to the web server using JavaScript. The web server processes the request and sends a response back to the web browser. This response can be in any format such as XML, JSON, HTML, or plain text. The web browser receives the response and uses JavaScript to update the web page with the new content without reloading the entire page. If necessary, the web page can send additional requests to the web server to retrieve more data or perform other actions. So now, I will show you how to submit a HTML form using AJAX. The front end will be a HTML page that will show HTML form, and on clicking the submit button, it will send the data via AJAX to a PHP file and will process the data restore functionality in that PHP file. So let's begin. First, we will create a new folder AJAX form, and inside it, we'll create a index.html. And inside this file, we will have a basic HTML form if we load this in the browser. So the URL is localhost/ajax form, that is the folder name, and here we have the basic form, and make sure you have Apache turned on. If I stop the Apache, then it will not load. So make sure in your sample panel you have turned on the Apache. So it's loading again. The word AJAX stands for Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Why it is used to get data from the server from client side after page reload. So to perform any database operation or server related or person without any page replaced. We have to use AJAX will basically call a file by AJAX and perform some operation. So here we have three fields: name, phone, and email. And the last field is the submit button that is submitting the form. So now we have to submit the form on clicking the button but without page refresh when doing AJAX. We will not refresh the page. So in that case, we have to do it by JavaScript. So I will write script and end of script text / JavaScript. Inside this script, we will write our as xcon, and in our case, I will use jQuery AJAX. So what is jQuery AJAX? There are two types of AJAX: normal AJAX and jQuery AJAX. The normal AJAX called function is look like this, and jQuery AJAX functions is look like this. But to use the jQuery AJAX function, we have to include the jQuery library. If we search in Google jQuery library, CDN, then we have the CDN link for the jQuery. So here is the Google CDN for the jQuery. So if I copy this script, and here we can see we have to add this inside the head tag. So I'll include this inside the head tag. After that, we can use jQuery AJAX call. Here, I have applied a CSS margin 10px, and I have applied it inside the parent div after applying the CSS. The form looks like this. So we have a gap between the form inputs margin, provide the gap, before writing the AJAX call function. Before writing the AJAX call function, I set the input type to function button because we are going to submit the form without any page reload. If we use some way, then it will reload the page on clicking the submit button. Now in this button, I add on click and call a function submit form. So here we have our function, and I'll write the function here, and we'll do the AJAX call and all the form validation inside this function. Inside this function, we are getting values from these inputs to send it in AJAX. Here their name equals to $, input name equals to name.val. So when we declare any variable in JavaScript, we have to use keyword there, and here we are getting the values with that val function. So here we are using input name equals to the name of the input. So if we check the second line, there are phone equals $2, input name equals to phone.val. So after $, we are using the first bracket, and within the first bracket, we will write input, and inside the third bracket, we'll write name equals to phone. And after the first bracket, and we'll use that val. That is a function that will get the value of this input. Actually, this is jQuery syntax to get an input value. We are using $ to use the jQuery method, and here is the element input name equals name, and that val is a jQuery function to get the value of that element. So $, and here we have the element that val is the function to get the value. Now, we will pass this value into the AJAX in order to use jQuery AJAX. And I write $ for jQuery and .ajax. And inside this will pass parameters. The parameter is nothing but an object. And object is declared with the second bracket, and we have the elements inside the object is URL. What type of request we want to send to the server, that may be post or get. So I will use post. Another parameter is data. What data we will send. This is also an object. I will declare it as form data. And this is a variable form data is available, and we will clearly above this line that form data is also an object where we'll pass the value of the name, email, and phone. And there is another parameter, success, that will be called after the AJAX call. Is completely on success. We will call a function, and here we have the function, and inside the function parameter will write response. This response is received from the AJAX call. So when we call a URL here by AJAX, it will send the data here in post method, and we have the success function that will receive the response from the API. Here we have the syntax. Now, I will first generate the form data. Name colon name. This is also an object. This variable will hold the form value of name, phone, which will hold the value of the phone in the form. And the email parameter will hold the value of email. This is from the form, and now we will place our URL here. The URL value is nothing but the PHP file. So I'll create a PHP file here in the AJAX form folder. Here we have the submit.php, and we will call this file, so we have to write here submit.php. And obviously, we have to provide the absolute URL. So in that case, we have to use this URL, and after that, we have this submit.php. If we place the submit.php in a new folder inside the AJAX form, say as API, so in that case, I will move the submit.php to API folder. And now, the URL will change to /API. Now, I'll write code for the submit.php. So here we have the database connection. We have the host username and password. And I'm connecting the database with PDO. And now we'll get the data and insert the data into our table. In our case, we have already one database, PHP test, with table name contacts. And here we have some data. We will insert data into this table. We have the same field, name, phone, and email. And now, here we have MySQL, insert query with a checking. So here we are checking if we have the same name field is not equal to blank. We have the phone field, and phone field is not equals to blank. And we have the email field and not equals to blank. Then we are going to insert the data into the contacts table. So our coding part is done. Now it's time for testing our code. First of all, I'll truncate the table here to delete all the previous record. If I go to the browse, then here we have no record. Now in the form, I'll submit the form. I have already added the values and clicking the save button. And now I'll refresh the database here. So here we have the new record. So the insert query is working. And how can we know that the AJAX is calling? To know that, right-click on your web page and click on the Inspect element. And go to the Network tab. In the Network tab, you can check what API we are calling when submitting the form. And here, we have the method post status 200, that is success. So you have the submit.php. If I click on this, then in the header, we have the request URL, same URL that we have used in the AJAX call. And in the payloads tab, we have the form data that we are submitting. So here we are sending data as the form data. We have the form data, it carries the value from the form. And if we check the response, this success is type of boolean and it can hold only true and false. So now I will update the success value with a checking. So here I am passing the connection arrow query inside the if condition. So if the query executed, then I am going to update the success key element value to true. And now, here we are displaying the response array by doing JSON encode. What is the function of JSON encode? The response variable is an array, and we are converting the array to a JSON format string, so this string will be returned in the response. Here in the success callback function, and if we do a console.log of the response, so here if I refresh and I click on the Save button. Now, we have the submit.php call. And I have not changed the data. So we have the previous data here, and currently we have the response success true. So it returning true because the query inserted the record, and here we have the success value change. So in the console, we can check here, we have success true. So because I parsed the JSON response, if I submit the success is true and it's an object. So we are able to get the data as an object. And now we can access the value by object, which was not possible from the response string. So it's converted to object. So now I'll apply the JavaScript condition before calling the API file. The JavaScript checking is nothing but a JavaScript validation. So here I have created a condition if name is equal to blank and phone not equals to blank and email not equals to blank. That means we have the value for all the fields. Then we are going to place our code, that is the AJAX call, inside this condition, so that we'll maintain our JavaScript validation, that is client validation, and in the else part, we can display some message. So I will create a div here above the form tag. Div ID is equal to message, and I write the content inside the div. So here we have the element that is $message. Here we are getting this element and setting the .html, and inside the HTML function, I pass a string that displayed as a content of the message div. So here I have written span, style, color red. We are providing red color for the error message. So now I save this one and refresh my page and click on this. So here we have the error message. And now I copy this one and paste it here before calling the AJAX. And after the AJAX, a success here, I have written processing form, please wait. And I am not changing the color. And after the success, I change the color to green and change the message form submitted successfully. And that is only possible when we have this success value true. So here I have applied condition rest.success, that is success value equals should true, then we are going to show success message. Otherwise, that else condition, and here I will change the message form not submitted, some error running the database query. And I set the color to red, and now it's working. That is the client side validation, and in the server side, I have also applied form validation, so that in that way we can create a form and then create validation through JavaScript and send the data through AJAX to the server, and in the server we are inserting the data into the database. That is also a way to connect normal HTML file with database.